So you're with me in Dead or Alive 6, and this is the tutorial screen, as it says on the top left. These are all the tutorials that are available, and as you can see from the ticks, I've completed all of them, just like I said in my email. If I go to character specific tutorials, you can see that all these have been completed as well, and my daughter's completed 4 tutorials on her profile and all character specific tutorials as well. So we have knowledge of what the tutorials are and what we think of them. So we think that the tutorials aren't really that helpful. You'll gain some basic knowledge, and you can see on the right hand side among the characters it says basic moves difficulty 1. Here in the tutorial you'll get a basic level, and it will go down and go through beginner and stuff to intermediate. Much of this stuff is repeated, and much of it goes on a basis where you're given a bar to jump over and you jump over it, and at varying points in the tutorial here, basic test, you're given a fight with AI, beginner test, and you're supposed to put in intermediate test all the things that you've learned right up to the final test. What you're going to find in those stages is you've got a health bar which is depletable. Your AI opponent that you're supposed to put into practice the things that you've learned has a health bar that is recoverable, and if you fail to jump the bar and do the things that you were supposed to do in that little test before your health depletes, you'll have to repeat it again and again. So in my email I mentioned about lesson 5.2 mid-holds part 2, where I said it was wrong that you held away for a mid-kick. Let's do this tutorial, but if you notice underneath the infinite timer it says 3-way holds. Now that's important, so let's do the tutorial. Okay, done. On this lesson, in the same section, section 5, we're on lesson 5.6 mid-kicks holds, 4-way holds. So if you see at the side of the big wording down the bottom left it says 4-way holds, and underneath the infinite timer it says 4-way holds. There's a difference between 3-way holds and 4-way holds. In 4-way holds the mid-kick is held toward, like so. Here in the options of Dead or Alive you'll see that I have highlighted holds and it's set to 4-way. You can set it to 3-way. So on 3-way, as you remember, mid-kick held away. On 4-way, mid-kick held toward. DOA usually, in iterations prior to 6, has never had an option for a 3-way hold version or a 4-way hold version. Now in the 3-way hold version, punches in either, the high, mid or low are held away, and the mid kicks in the high, mid and low are held away. In the 4-way version, punches in the high, mid and low are held away, kicks in the high and low are held away, but kicks in the mid are held toward. It's the latter version that's always been in practice on previous iterations of DOA, and it's the latter version that you will have to use if you fight online. I can only presume that they put in the 3-way holds for kind of like an ease of use. Maybe if you're playing offline, I don't know. I find it confusing. That if it wanted you to understand DOA and to learn it, that they put in that option. Why not just have the 4-way holds and say this is how DOA plays? the tutorial, in my opinion and my daughter's opinion, is defeating itself and confusing people unnecessarily. So in this lesson 27.7, close-hit follow-ups that I highlighted in my email to show that the tutorial wasn't good enough. If you follow the input that you're supposed to do for this little combo on the left hand side, you will fail this again and again. You are supposed to be administering a close hit at the end, and Hitomi needs to be close enough to Kasumi to do this, to have this accepted, to have the last hit register in the combo and thus complete the lesson. But as I said, if you follow it just as it says, you will fail again and again and again. And so you can see that the commands were input and yet we failed, because Hitomi wasn't at that point close enough to hit Kasumi and had the last hit accepted and thus complete the lesson. So the review said that the tutorials tell you when to press your button, when to administer your input, and thus help you with timing. No, they don't. Okay, so we're at lesson 20.3, which I mentioned in my email, high counter holds, and I mentioned that the message high counter hold would flash on the screen when a hold lands as a counter, but at no point does it say if it will help you, and there is no information on the screen when we do this to say that it will. So let's do the command that we're shown on the screen and see what happens. Lesson wasn't complete. It's not complete there. It's not complete there. And yet we're doing the command shown on the screen. So how is the tutorial not helping us? Well, what we have to do is we have to use our own nogging and find out the timing ourselves. So after a couple of put downs for Hitomi there, we figured it out and we got it. But the game didn't help us to do that. We had to do it ourselves. So on the issue of timing and tutorials helping, I wondered if the review actually meant that the input commands on the left hand side of the screen, where one is highlighted and one is dark, and when we input the highlighted one, the highlight changes to the next input. I wonder if it meant that was helping us on timing. So let's do this little lesson that I've got here, which is 25.1, light ground attacks. As a games player, when I do that lesson, I'm focused on looking at the center of the screen toward Hitomi and Kasumi. Now there were only two inputs there, so when I read that, I was able to easily do it. If there were more inputs on the left hand side, perhaps that's what they would be meaning. Well, I can tell you that going through all of these tutorials, every time I went through a lesson, I was focused on what I was doing with my character, so my attention was toward the center of the screen and never towards the inputs and which one was being highlighted. I didn't find ever that was helpful as to timing inputs. So is timing input help anywhere else in the training? So I've chosen free training. I've chosen Tina, who you can see on the left, and Hitomi is going to help us out with this one. Now Tina has a little throw, and that throw is you're able to do it when you do a kick. It's just a straight kick. And then as that kick hits Hitomi, that's when you press the throw. So it's an on-hit input. Just like that. Did the game help me with the input timing there? If you were eagle-eyed, what you would have seen on the left-hand side was a couple of words come up. One of them would have been in blue. And that blue wording would have told me that there was a throw there. But it was very, very, very fast. Okay, let's go into command training. So here we are in command training, and on the moves list I've highlighted Tina's kick throw. So let's select that. Is the game going to help me out any more with input timing on this one? Might I find some information in command training that will help me? Let's have a look. No. So if you don't practice this kick and learn through trial and error, what you're going to see is failure again and again, because the game isn't going to help you to understand when to administer your input. Into Tina's move list once more, and here's a 3-part throw. Might the game help us out here? Again, the wording on the left hand side comes up, and I've done that throw quite a lot of times, so I'm aware of the timing of the inputs. That's quite an easy one to do, that's why I chose it here. Tina has a lot of throws that have different kinds of timing, and so do other characters. As with Tina's kick throw, that had to be administered very quickly. There are other throws that you start off with a throw that need a throw very quickly. There are some throws that you start off with a throw and then do the next part of it, and that might take a while to come up. But if you don't complete it when it comes up, you will fail the throw. These things can only be learned through trial and error, and the game does not at any time help the player to understand when to input. It's just through trial and error. You'll see it flash up on the left hand side, and you've got to be quick. You've got to be really quick, because some of it will flash and it'll go away just as it's come. So we've had a little look at some of the things in the tutorial that I feel are not really good enough. The review says it's this way, it helps you with timing, or the tutorials are really good. And actually when you get down to the tutorials and you do them, you find that things could be better, things could be explained better, things could help you better. Some of the things I was doing, and I really was just doing them to get them done. It really wasn't teaching me much that I couldn't learn from free training and from command lists. I mean, in free training you can pull up your fight screen info, and that will help you. There's not really a lot there, and some of the tutorial bit was quite unhelpful. So either you're going to be the type of player that's going to persevere with it and, you know, use your own understanding and your own interpretation of it and get it done, or you're going to be the type of player that will just get frustrated and give up.